Epilogue Back at Longleaf. Summer was drawing to a close. In the orchard, the apples and pears were beginning to take shape. The sheep wool was just beginning to thicken. The meadow grass was turning yellow, exhausted from months of summer sun. And Aidan Errolson, Cornwalder's deliverer, was back in the bottom pasture tending his sheep. "What's a fellow got to do to get some respect around here?" he grumbled as he untangled a lamb from a blackberry bush. He deepened his voice in imitation of Bayard the truth speaker. "Live the life that unfolds before you." That's easy for him to say. He and his goats go where they please. The only thing unfolding before me is more work. "Bah!" said the lamb. "Oh, so you're on their side, are you? Maybe you'd like to have a nice Perthen shepherd watching you, and a nice Perthen family in the manor house, and a nice Perthen tyrant living in Tambluff Castle." "Bah!" said the lamb a little louder, for the blackberry thorns were pricking her. "Well, next time there's a giant threatening to enslave the whole country, maybe you'd like to go slay him, 'cause I'm through with it. I'm telling you, Aidan stopped himself. "Oh, good grief. I'm as bad as Bayard, talking to livestock." He went back to his work. When the lamb was free, Aidan heard the slow creak of wagon wheels coming from the next pasture. Watching the cart path, he saw two golden plumes come bobbing over the rise, attached to gleaming bridles of two magnificent draft horses. They pulled a long, low wagon draped with blue silk embroidered with the golden boar. Running toward the wagon, Aidan saw that the driver was Wendell, the royal gamekeeper. He also recognized the riders who came over the rise behind the wagon, his father Errol and King Darrow. "Aidan, we've brought an old friend of yours," said King Darrow. "We thought it was time he came home." "Climb on the driver's bench with Wendell," Errol directed his son, "and show him how to get the river beside the indigo field." With Aidan's help, Wendell maneuvered the big wagon to the river bank. Errol and Darrow followed close behind. When everyone had dismounted, Wendell pulled the drape from the wagon. There inside his heavy iron cage was Samson, the alligator. He had been snoozing under the drape, and he was furious at Wendell for disturbing him. He opened his terrible jaws and hissed menacingly. He thrashed his tail a couple times and lunged at Aidan with a bellow that echoed over the river. "Hey, that's my boy!" cheered Aidan. "That's my boy!" He clapped for Samson's impressive demonstration. Here was Cornwall in all its primeval energy. The Cornwall of old, the Cornwall yet to be. Samson almost looked his old self again. A few streaks of gold paint lingered in the crevice between his scales, but for the most part he looked just the way he did when Aidan first saw him. "After the treaty feast," said King Darrow, "the Perthens left in such a hurry that they didn't bother to take him home their party favor." The king looked almost sheepish as he gestured at Samson. "But how did you get the paint off of him?" Aidan asked. Wendell laughed. "He did that by himself. I just turned him loose in Tambluff Moat. He wallowed it off." Wendell opened the cage door and prodded the alligator's tail with a pole. Samson slid out of the cage and into the water. For a few seconds he floated like a bumpy log, eyeing his captors. Then he disappeared under the water. "He seems glad to be home," remarked King Darrow, watching the alligator's tail dissipate across the water's surface. Then he turned to Aidan. "And what about you, Aidan? Are you glad to be home?" Aidan paused for a second or two before answering. "Yes, Your Majesty. I'm happy to be home. Of course I am." But Aidan's uncertain tone revealed more than his words. "Aidan," continued the king, "you are no shepherd boy. You have been a faithful and obedient son to your father. But now you belong to Cornwall. You believed in Cornwall. and in Cornwall's God, when I, the king of Cornwall, didn't. I had forgotten many things, but you made me remember. I need to surround myself with men like you. Aidan looked from King Darrow to his father and back again. Aidan, continued the king, I want you to live at Tambluff Castle. Join my son Styrin in his study of the arts of government, law, diplomacy, warfare. Styrin will be king some day, and he will need lieutenants and advisers. Darrow put a hand on Aidan's shoulder. Aidan, you have the heart to serve Cornwall. Anyone who saw you on the Bonifay Plain knows that. I want to be sure you have the skills. This was more than Aidan could comprehend at first. Your Majesty, you're asking me to join your court? The king nodded his head. Aidan looked to his father. The king and I have discussed this at length, said Errol, in answer to his son's inquiring look. I'll miss you terribly, son, but King Darrow is right. Go to Tambluff with my blessing. It's best for you. It's best for Cornwall. Errol smiled at Aidan. You've learned every lesson I've ever tried to teach you, but you have many more things to learn, things you can learn only at the court of Darrow. Well, that settles it, doesn't it? Said Aidan, smiling at his father and his king. I'll pack my trunk. On to Tambluff.